morning, everyone. I need to get me a bottle of water. Definitely, I shall return. Let me see if I can get something going here. I have got to get me some water. I need something that's going to put me over the top. Yes, yes, yes. Something that's crazy. Cray. Something that's kicking. Gotta get me a bottle of water. Welcome. I saw some hearts flying. Thank you very kindly. I didn't see who that was. Send me a note. Let me see who you are. I didn't get that. My. There it is. Okay. All right, Reverend Manuel. Good to see you. Thank you. I'm going to play something crazy. Cray right now. I think, anyway, it's crazy to me. But let me go get me a bottle of water while I'm waiting for people to come on here. It's a free-flowing Monday. It's about whatever you want it to be about. I've got a few ideas, of course. But listen to this while I go get some water.
We see. Check it out.
Yeah, I love God. You love God? What's wrong with you? I love God. You love God? What's wrong with you? I don't think that I can live no other way. Truth be told, I'm living now on an A. Not to see them blessings in the modern day. The Lord I serve, He give them to me every day.
Hi there.
Giving, I'm forgiving.
Thank you for joining.
What's wrong with you? I love God. You love God.
What's wrong with you?
Love him, I love him. Love him, I love him. Love him, I love him. Love him, I love him, I love him. Love him, I love him, I love him. Love him, I love him, love him, I love him.
You ain't got the money moving by yourself. And you know you did it with a lot of air. You know it's only one, it ain't nobody else. You got me talking strong and I ain't rich, I'm talking well. I'm forgiving.
Go on, Erica.
See, I've been forgiving, I'm living. And when I
How would you like to hear this on a Sunday morning?
see nothing if he comes. I love God. You love God. What's wrong with you?
Get them young adults crunked up first thing on Sunday morning.
You love God. What's wrong with you?
Yeah.
Love him, I love him.
That'll wake up some of them old people in your church, I guarantee you. They'll be calling everybody with your name on their mouth. Yeah. All right. I'm getting ready to get on into this thing.
I love God. You love God. What's wrong with you?
Love him, I love him. Love him, I love him. Love him, I love him. Love him, I love him, I love him. Love him, I love him, I love him. Love him, I love him, I love him.
All right. Yeah, that'll work. That's good. Now that'll get me pumped up. Yeah, I'm trying to get the beat, but I don't know if the beat passed right on by me or not. But anyway, I do what I can while I can. Lord have mercy. Good afternoon. It's 1:22 in the great city of Grambling, Louisiana. It's good to have you on the call this afternoon. It's Free Flowing Monday. So if you got a question, type it in your comment section, send it to me. I'll try to deal with that particular question. In the meantime, while you're thinking, remember we're on a leadership journey. We're talking about how to grow our influence. We're talking about straighten my tie. I ain't straightening up nothing. I'm going to leave my tie just like it is, like a T.I. is. No, no thank you. This is all about the leadership journey. And, I might even take my tie off. Who knows? But thank you anyway for that suggestion. I appreciate it. Yeah, I know how that is. Yes, indeedy. Yes, indeedy. Welcome to all of you who are checking in, those OCD folks and those people. Yeah, they watch them kind of things. Free flowing Monday, just taking a few minutes out to see what your topics are that you'd like to hear discussed about leadership, so that I can program that in the coming days. Do a little research and get back to you any type of leadership question that you might have. Let me see. I've got, I had my notebook right here next to me, but I guess I'll just have to use a piece of note paper because evidently someone decided to use my office this morning. So if you have questions that you'd like me to talk about, good to see you, Rem Sam. If you have questions that you'd like for me to talk about, just put them in the comments, and I got my pen handy, and I will jot them down, and I'll do a periscope on those issues. To get us kicked off this morning, I definitely want to talk about a leader's first responsibility. What is the main thing that a leader has to be concerned with? Lord have mercy. There you go. You got that? All right. First and foremost, for any leader who's leading any team, you have to define reality for your team members. You have to do it out of the totality of your perspective about whatever initiative or goal that you're going to be engaged in. A lot of times the people that we lead grumble and complain because they don't understand the role that they play in the big picture. In other words, they cannot identify why those small tasks that they're being asked to do are so critical and important to the larger task, to the big picture, to the whole vision, And so you as a leader, whether it is you're an executive leader, whether it is a mid-management leader, or whether it's just the leader of a team, you've got to be able to define reality in such a way that your team members can really begin to understand that what they're doing is significant to the wider picture, the wider goal. So, you just need to be aware of that. And I want to talk about how you go about defining reality. But I want to approach this from a personal perspective because I think in a lot of cases, you may be the problem. I may be the problem as it pertains to the productivity of our teams. And so let me try to paint a picture for you that John paints in one of his books. He says, I have often taught people change only when they hurt enough that they have to. That they don't change unless they've really hurt enough to where change can no longer be deferred. And then people change when they learn enough that they're motivated to change because, the more you know, the more you grow. And so you cannot remain the same. Or people change when they receive enough that they're able to. In other words, financially, if people want to change where they live, if people want to relocate, if people want to change jobs, if they've got enough emergency cash set aside so that they'll be able to live while they're engaged in a new enterprise, whether that is seeking a new career or whether that is starting their own business or whatever they want to do, when they've got enough emergency money saved up, then they'll make that change. And so those are some of the motivators to why people change. And then, of course, people change when they want to learn something new. People change churches, people change schools, people change career paths, because now they have a new vision for their lives. They have something that they want to learn that they can no longer learn where they are. And so these motivating factors cause people to want to change, you know. And so when you as a leader are about to define reality, you have to first start with you, you know. John says that in 2001, he came face to face with a painful reality. Now, this is the motivator that says, you know, that people change when they're hurt enough to change. And John, and I'm speaking of John Maxwell, says that one of his companies was steadily losing money, and his efforts seemed to be going in too many directions. And so this problem didn't appear suddenly. This problem had been going on for 5 years. There had been indicators that he ought to make some changes, but he was unwilling to make them because simply he was in his comfort zone. He liked his leadership team, even though he knew he needed to change those who made up his leadership team. And so for John, he was willing to absorb the losses so that he could keep things the way they were. But after those 5 years, the losses began to add up and take their toll on the organization. And then he was mentored by his brother, who was a business guru and who had a firm grasp on reality. And he kept telling him that, John, you need to make some tough decisions. You need to follow the truth that you see that is occurring. And so he knew that if you want to win, you can't beat yourself up. But if you're not facing reality and you're starting to get discouraged, then you're already beating yourself up. So he started to study, and he read a book by Jack Welch called Straight from the Gut, in which Jack Welch talked about 6 rules for successful leadership. And out of these 6, John discovered that 5 of these rules had to do with facing reality. You as a leader are going to have to face reality in your personal life, in your business life, in your relationships. You're just going to have some fierce conversations with yourself that would indicate that you need to make a change. You can tell. Remember, we talked about the law of intuition. You have a gut instinct that something's wrong, that you're not going to grow if you leave it the same, but yet you're unwilling to make the change because of the inconvenience it may cause, because it's uncomfortable for you to make the change. And so then let's look at these 6 rules of leadership that successful leaders engage in order to define reality and in order to make sure that their teams reaching their maximum potential. Because we said to you that the definition of success is knowing your purpose, grow into your maximum potential, and then sowing seeds in other people's lives that will allow them to grow into their maximum potential. You not doing what you need to do on behalf of your leadership team is not helping them. Even if you're keeping on dead weight, you're paying them, everything is running. But if you see at the end of the day that you're not making the progress that you want to make, that you are not reaching the goals that you want to reach, then you need to do something about it. So then, these 6 rules of leadership. The first one, control your destiny or someone else will. If you don't take initiative for your own life, someone else will. If you do not have a personal manifesto, if you don't have a personal creed, which I do a course on how to be intentional, where I teach you how to develop your personal manifesto. And if you're interested in that course, let me know and I will get you the information. You see how to contact me on my profile. So just let me know and I will get you information where you will be invited to attend this course on how to develop your own personal manifesto, and I think it will add value to you. But if you don't take control of your destiny, there comes a time when you have to stop allowing others to plan your life and to set your course. It is your destiny, it is your future, and you should know your purpose and your gifting enough to know when to tell people no. One of the most difficult things for people with good hearts is to tell someone no. But having a personal creed, a personal manifesto will allow you to know when to say no so that you will be in control of your own destiny. Welcome, ego. Listen, you want to be in charge of your own destiny. And I guarantee you that if you don't allow others to distract you from your destiny and your purpose, then if you have tough skin, if you have mental toughness and soundness, then you will be able to control your destiny. Do not allow anyone else to define you or to control your destiny. Be in charge of your own destiny. That's the first rule of successful leadership, is lead yourself. Don't be led by others when you know what you're after and you know your purpose. The second rule of successful leadership is face reality as it is, not as it was or as you wish it were. Sometimes we maintain stuck in a rut all because we really refuse to acknowledge we're really in a hot mess, that our life is not, that we're not happy, that we're not fulfilled, that we have settled. Anybody ever settled? You stopped reaching for the stars and just decided, I'm going to stay right here in the Earth's atmosphere. You have decided that, it's too much work for you to get better. It's too much work for you to reach for a better life. It's just too difficult. There's too many difficult choices. There's too many people that you may have to ruffle some feathers or cause to be unnerved, or cause, people may cry when you tell them what you really feel and what you really think. And you can't stand to see a person cry. You put their feelings above your own. You refuse to face reality as it is. You cannot define reality for other people if you will not define your own reality. Not as it was, not as you wish it were, but as it really is. You need to take a hard look at your reality and decide whether or not your own reality is where you want to be. If you decide that where you are, who you're with, where you're working is no longer fulfilling, be like those 4 lepers sitting outside the city during the time of famine. Ask yourself, why sit I here until I die? Why am I going to settle when I can, listen, I like to tell people this, and I hope it's not too bluntly for you, but don't go to hell based on what someone else believes. If you're going to have a miserable life, let it be because of what you decided. Let it be because of your choices. Don't let it be because you thought it was too much work to go out and seek your own happiness and your own future. Know your purpose. Know your potential. Know your capabilities, and then reach for it. Never settle for second best, because second best will not be fulfilling when you know that first is reachable, obtainable, attainable. You can do it if you put your mind to it, because as Les Brown says, there is greatness within you. Face your reality as it is, not as it was, nor as you wish it were. It is what it is. Don't talk about it, be about it. Start now telling yourself, I'm defining reality for me, so that if I'm going to lead others, I will also lead them into defining reality for themselves. Listen, each person has the individual right to define reality for themselves. But if they're looking up to you as their leader, they at least want to see a model. They want to see an example of someone who will face reality as it is and then make the necessary adjustments in order to reach their highest potential. Don't settle. I know it's difficult to move. You've already got the house, you've got the car, you've got the nice 6-figure income, you got the white picket fence, you got all that. But when you lay down in bed, you're looking up at the roof and you're sitting there looking like General George Patton on the movie Patton when he's looking up in this great big cathedral of a home that they put him in, and he sits around there and he calls that place a royal doghouse. Because he's miserable, because he is not engaged in what he truly loves, which is being a commander on the battlefield. You can have all the surroundings of luxury, all the surroundings of happiness, and still be miserable because you have refused to define that reality, to control your destiny. Are you willing to give up all of that just to reach your potential? Are you willing to walk away from this nice, cute, life that you have built, even though you're miserable, so that you can reach your highest potential? See, you have to sacrifice. You have to give up in order to go up. You've got to get rid of what's no longer working in order for you to attain what will work. And you don't want to live 40, 50, 60, 70 years on this earth keeping up with the Joneses or making everyone else think that you're happy and that you're fulfilling your purpose when you know down in your heart that you're miserable. Misery loves company, though. There's a whole lot of other folk in that same reality who are just keeping up appearances. They had a British show that used to come on in PBS called Keeping Up Appearances. And this man and this woman did everything they could when they invited friends over and all that to keep up appearances of wealth and stature when in fact they were broke, busted, and disgusted. Don't live your life keeping up appearances. Have that fierce conversation with yourself. Face your reality so that then you can begin to take the necessary steps to change and redefine your reality. Okay? So then, this is Free Flowing Monday for those who just joined in, and I'm talking, but anytime you want to ask a question, feel free to do so. About any area of leadership, I don't mind switching gears, okay? So we're talking about 6 rules of successful leadership. The first one was control your destiny or someone else will. And the second one, which I just spoke on, was face reality as it is, not as it was, or not as you wish it were, okay? And then the third one is be candid with everyone. Be candid with everyone. Be honest with everyone. How you doing? I'm fine. Mel Robbins says, stop saying you're fine. How can you just settle for being fine when life should be an adventure, when you should be excited, when you should be living in the overflow of your purpose? Fine, what is fine? I mean, you should just be reaching for higher heights. You should be reaching for your full potential. You should be reaching for the stars, and you're settling for just being fine. I mean, you got all this world before you to discover, to visit, to learn about. Do you know there are some people who've never moved not one block from the neighborhood they were born in, but they're fine. They know everybody in the community except the new people. They know where every store is. They know what time churches start and stop. They know what time every store opens and closes. They know when to go in the house and when it's safe to come out. They're just fine. They're marking time in this place called fine. But their life is humdrum. Their life is no longer filled with zeal. They just going on autopilot. They get up in the morning. They do the same things every day. They engage in the, they just stuck. And they call it fine, and they really think they're happy until someone introduces them to something that knocks their socks off, and then they try to go back to fine, and fine will never be enough. Once you've experienced great, and awesome, fine will no longer be enough. Okay? It's just, you just can't go back to fine. If you ever step outside your comfort zone and experience great and exhilaration and enthusiasm and adventure, being fine will no longer fit. And so you have to be a person who is candid with everyone. You know, you just have to speak your truth, and you have to learn how to speak your truth. But developing your own individual manifesto, your own individual creed will help you be able to express yourself where you are and why you go. And that's why I hope you'll be interested in this course on how to develop your individual manifesto, how to be intentional about your success. Just, email me. My website is listed on my profile, and I'll get the information to you when the next course is going to be starting, which will be sometime in April, because I'm engaged now in Lent season, and Holy Week is coming up. So I'll be more in tune in April to deal with that particular situation. So those are the first 3 rules of success of great leaders. Okay. First, control your destiny, or someone else will. Second, face reality as it is, not as it was or as it were. Thirdly, be candid with everyone. Be honest with everyone. And let me say a word about being honest, because you have to know your story well enough to be able to put your story in the proper context, depending upon whom you're speaking. You get the right to frame your story in the way that you choose, because it's your story. Take ownership of your story. You can put that positive, affirmative spin on your story such that it will always be a story that adds value to others and that does not deplete other people's energy. People do not want to hear the sad sack, gloom, doom, misery on me story coming out of your mouth. Even though you're being candid, you've got to learn how to tell your story, okay? And so make sure you spend some time with yourself so that you can contextualize your story, get to know the positives in your story, so that when you tell your story, it will be an uplift to people and not make people discouraged or depressed when they are hearing about your story. And there's a way to tell your story that will always be a blessing. And when you finish that story, you'll look at the person in the eye, and then you'll say, listen, I don't look like what I've been through, do I? No, because the way you told your story, okay? So be candid, but be wise. Be smart about how you're going to be candid. Now, the 4th thing is, and this is where a leader really takes off. A leader, listen, there's a difference between a leader and a manager. So the 4th one is, don't manage, lead. Let me say that again. Don't manage, lead. Okay? What is that siren going off in here? Excuse me a moment. I don't have any sirens that I know about that's supposed to be going off. There's nothing in the oven or anything, so we ought to be good, shouldn't we? Yeah, I think so. All right, so then, don't manage, lead. Now, what do I mean by don't manage, lead? Well, this is what I'm talking about. When you are a leader, you don't tell people how to do what you want them to do. When you are a leader, you tell them the what and let them determine the how. Welcome, one love. Okay? You tell them what needs to be done. You don't tell them how. Okay? And that's a whole nother law that I've talked about in previous times. But if you're going to lead. A leader casts vision. A leader gives goals. A leader allows the team to aspire to greatness by setting the objective. But then that same leader trains the team and trusts the team and the people on the team to come up with the efficiency or come up with the how. Okay? Hello, how you doing? It's good to see you. So then what am I saying? I'm saying that if you've trained your team and you believe in your team, you are charged as a leader to be effective. Effective says you know the right time, the right priorities, the right things that you need to do, and so you assign those things to your team. But your team have been trained to do those things in the most efficient manner, which means then efficiency becomes your team's responsibility because they're the ones that are working together. So don't worry about management as much as you do leading and being a role model and staying in your strengths. Let your team manage the details and you keep your eye on the big picture, okay? So that's what we're talking about. Don't manage, lead, all right? Number 5, change before you have to. Lord have mercy. You ever heard people say, well, the only reason he changed was because he got caught. He wouldn't have done it if he hadn't got caught. I mean, people getting caught seems to be their only motivation for change. And that should not be. As a leader, you should change before you have to. Don't wait until the Titanic has sunk to talk about getting on the lifeboat. Change while you still have the strength, the energy, the enthusiasm to change. Don't wait until you are so depressed that you no longer have the energy to change. That's where some people are. Some people are so depressed, they just sleep all day. They're lethargic because they miss that point where they needed to change. And once you miss that opportunity, you miss that point where you know you need to change. You've got your intuition told you to change. Now you don't have the energy to change. It's just too much for you to change. Or you're going to change in such a way that it's a disadvantage to you, because the other person is going to be in charge of your destiny. Once you get caught, you're no longer in charge of your destiny. Someone else is. So change before you have to. Change when you know deep down in your heart that you need to make a change. Don't wait until you are forced to change to make a change. Change while you are still energetic, while you're still a person with determination. Just don't wait until you're at your weakest, most vulnerable point, and then you have to change. And that's when your mind is not right. You're not thinking straight. You're not feeling your best, and people then will be able to take advantage of you because now you're weak. It's okay to change when you're strong. Can I say that to you? It's okay and most appropriate for you to change when you're strong and you're decisive and you know you need to make a change. Don't wait until someone else is ready to change before you change. That's good stuff right there. You ought to give me some hearts for that. Don't wait until the others are willing to change before you change. You change because you know change is appropriate for you. Okay? Don't hold on to a sinking ship, because the only thing you're going to get is drowned. So change before you have to. And number 6, if you don't have a competitive advantage, don't compete. Now that's what successful leaders do. They don't compete in an area where they know someone else has the best opportunity for success over them. They just don't do it, So don't live your life in an illusion, okay? Bill Eason says realistic leaders are objective enough to minimize illusions. They understand that self-deception can cost them their vision. So in defining reality, start with you. Make sure you're where you need to be, okay? Make sure you know that you are at your best so that you can lead others in defining reality for their roles in life and what they are called to do, okay? And remember that a time of turbulence is a dangerous time, but its greatest danger is a temptation to deny reality. Even in troubled times, you blame it on the devil. You blame it on God. You blame it on somebody else. What I'm saying to you is a personal thing. Define your own reality. Define your own reality before you try to define someone else's reality. Can you do that for me, please? If you're going to be a leader, listen, these are the 6 things you need to meditate on. Control your destiny, or someone else will. Face reality as it is, not as it was, or as you wish it were. Don't always think people are going to change and you waiting on them to change. And as Creflo Dollar says, change is not change until it's changed. So don't keep waiting on someone else to change. Face your reality. Make a determination that you need to change. And then be candid with everyone. Then don't manage, lead, which a leader makes decisions. I'll talk about that later, about the power of decisions. But when you make a decision, you open up a whole realm of unseen resources to come to your aid, because now those resources know where you're headed. Now they can open up doors for you, but I'll talk about that in another scope. And then change before you have to. And finally, if you don't have a competitive advantage, don't compete. Instead of worrying about competing with other people, create something new in a niche that no one else is operating in. That's much better place for you to be successful than trying to compete with someone else. Thank you for your time today. I've had a great time spending time with you, and I trust that you found this scope to be fruitful for you. Tune in again, and tomorrow, where I will also be again, sharing with you these good ideas of leadership. But that is the first responsibility of a leader. Know yourself. Know where you're going before you get somebody else engaged in your enterprise, and then you end up taking them on a journey. But that journey that they're on, guess what? You change your mind because you were not sure that's what you wanted to do. Okay? Take care, everybody. God bless.